Atletico Madrid targeting a Manchester United star? Is Osimhen on his way to dominate the Premier League? Rashford's future club unveiled. Will Saudi Arabia secure its next big signing? Could Vinicius depart Real Madrid? All this and more in today's episode. If we hit 500 likes on this video, it will inspire us to keep bringing you fresh content. So sit back, enjoy the show, and let's dive in. Vinicius is once again in the spotlight. The Brazilian winger from Real Madrid, who has been making headlines lately, is now at the center of another major story. And this time, it's serious. He narrowly escaped a lengthy suspension following a recent incident in the match against Valencia. Instead of the expected 12-game ban, he will only miss a couple of matches. However, there's still a hefty fine, 600,000 euros. So, in a way, he got off easy, if we can even call such a sum light. Let's start with the fine. After the controversial La Liga moment, where Vinicius was sent off for shoving Valencia's goalkeeper, many believed the punishment would be severe. Reports suggested a possible 12-game suspension. Can you imagine? But Real Madrid worked their magic, and the penalty was reduced to just 2 games. However, this came at a cost. A massive 600,000 euro fine for Vinicius, and an even bigger 700,000 euro fine for the club. That's a serious financial hit. But for Vinicius, who earns millions, it's like dropping over $100 on a taxi ride. He probably won't even notice it. The real question is, will Real Madrid cover this fine for him, or will he have to pay out of pocket? But here's where things take an interesting turn. According to The Athletic, Saudi club Al Ahly is actively negotiating to sign the Brazilian star. They already met with his agent back in December, and now talks are getting serious. We're not just talking about a massive contract. The buyout clause in Vinicius' deal is an eye-watering 1 billion euros. For context, Transfermarkt values him at around 200 million euros. Alongside Haaland, he's considered one of the most expensive players in football. But 1 billion euros? That sounds like something out of a fantasy world. It seems like Saudi clubs are operating in their own financial universe. Reports suggest they're willing to offer Vinicius so much money that he will have to seriously consider whether to stay at Real Madrid or take the leap to the Saudi Pro League. Honestly, the situation surrounding Vinicius is getting more intense by the day. Constant controversies, provocations from opponents, diving accusations, questionable referee decisions. It's clearly affecting not just the player, but also Real Madrid as a whole. The club has even filed a formal complaint with the Spanish Federation, demanding a review of La Liga's refereeing standards. But what will come of it? That remains to be seen. On the other hand, if this transfer actually happens, what would it mean for Real Madrid? Vinicius is undoubtedly one of their key players right now, but a sum like 1 billion euros could completely reshape the club. With that kind of money, they could practically build a new squad around Mbappé. As for Vinicius, a move to Saudi Arabia would mean an enormous payday with far less competition compared to Europe. But would he really go for it? So far, he hasn't given any clear signals. No, yes, no, no. If you were in his position, what would you do? So, will Real Madrid fight to keep him? Or is even Florentino Perez considering cashing in on this historic offer? And what do you think about a 1 billion euro price tag for a player? Are we witnessing a complete transformation of football as we know it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Remember in our previous videos when we discussed the possibility of Virgil van Dijk leaving Liverpool this summer? Well, the plot has taken an unexpected twist. According to Fabrizio Romano, Liverpool and Van Dijk are now very close to agreeing on a contract extension. And let's not forget, his current deal is set to expire this summer. The club seems confident they'll keep their defensive leader, and the Dutchman himself reportedly wants to stay and continue his journey with the Reds. Honestly, it's a bit surprising, don't you think? Not long ago, the media was buzzing about Real Madrid eyeing Van Dijk, with rumors suggesting they were planning to snatch him up for free this summer, a move that would have been perfect for them. Given the defensive struggles Perez and his team are facing, bringing in Van Dijk would have been a brilliant decision. But then, bam, a sudden twist. Reports started emerging that Real Madrid had second thoughts. They chose to stick with their long-standing policy. No long-term contracts for aging players. Coincidence? I doubt it. Here's the interesting part. When the first rumors linked Van Dijk to Madrid, he remained silent or gave those classic vague responses like, "We'll see what happens." But the moment it became clear that Real were no longer interested, Virgil quickly changed his tune and started expressing his commitment to Liverpool. Quite the turnaround, right? Honestly, I believe there was real interest from Real Madrid, but the deal simply didn't come together. It's a story we've seen play out before. And let's be real, if Van Dijk were to leave Liverpool, where else would he go if not Madrid? What club is realistically on a higher level than Liverpool right now? When we talk about elite teams, Real Madrid is in a league of its own. No debate there. By the way, Liverpool is facing a situation similar to a few years ago. Remember when they had to make a tough decision between keeping Salah and Mané? In the end, they prioritized Salah and let Mané move to Bayern. Now history seems to be repeating itself with Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. That might explain why contract negotiations are taking so long. The club knows they can't hold on to everyone, at least not on the terms these players want. So, the higher-ups are likely weighing their options. Could one of them be sacrificed? It's definitely possible. If I were in Liverpool's shoes, I'd think twice before letting any of them go. Each one brings something unique and invaluable to the team. Oh, and one more thing. Remember those wild rumors about Elon Musk buying Liverpool? Yeah, forget about it. The club has completely dismissed the speculation, saying there have been no discussions with Musk and that Liverpool is not for sale. That being said, who knows what the future holds? But for now, it seems safe to put that rumor to rest. It sounds plausible, but you can't help but feel a little suspicious, right? So that's where things stand with Van Dijk. Will he stay or leave? Was Real Madrid ever truly interested? Or was it all just media hype? And here's a question for you. Which of Liverpool's key trio, Salah, Van Dijk, or Trent, could they afford to lose? Personally, I don't think they should let any of them go. But what do you think? If you had to make a choice, who would you keep? And who could Liverpool move on from? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. You know the drill. According to the most trusted sources in France, it looks like Didier Deschamps is set to say a firm farewell to the French national team after the 2026 World Cup. And here's the most intriguing part. Rumors suggest that his decision has nothing to do with how Les Bleus perform. Whether France lifts the trophy or crashes out in the group stage, Deschamps has reportedly already made up his mind. Honestly, it makes perfect sense. It seems like something he's been planning for a while, either to step away at the top of his game or to leave on his own terms before the pressure forces him out. No matter how you look at it, it's a delicate balance. But of course, the big question is, who will step into this legendary role? And as if by magic, one name immediately comes to mind. Yes, you guessed it, Zinedine Zidane, the one and only Zizou, who has almost become a mythical figure at this point. We've been waiting and speculating about his return to the dugout for what feels like forever. Yet he remains on what seems like a never-ending break, which raises an interesting question. Does the French Football Federation even want Zidane as much as everyone assumes? What do you think? Sure, he's a legend, a coach with an incredible reputation, and a true leader. But let's not forget, he's been out of the game for quite some time now. Meanwhile, expectations for the French team are sky high. Nothing less than winning will be considered a success. Would appointing him actually be a risk? Think about what's already happened. After the last World Cup, everyone expected Deschamps to step down, and Zidane was practically crowned as his successor. Then, boom, a shock twist. Deschamps had his contract extended, and Zidane was left waiting on the sidelines. That decision stunned a lot of people at the time. Sure, Deschamps has proven himself as a fantastic coach, but come on, this is Zidane. How could he not be the obvious choice? Yet reports suggest that Zidane wasn't even seriously considered back then. So, as we circle back to Deschamps' expected departure, the situation remains as fascinating as ever. Be honest, do you think Zidane is the right man to take over? Or is this just the hype surrounding his name? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And while you're at it, stay tuned for all the latest updates from the world of football, transfers, scandals, shocking twists, and behind-the-scenes drama. We've got it all covered for you. It seems even Manchester United's management is a bit stunned by just how many valuable assets they've stockpiled at Old Trafford. You've probably heard by now that United's financial situation isn't exactly rosy. Let's just say their bank account is practically begging for a boost. And after years of, let's call it, questionable transfer decisions, the club is left with a squad that desperately needs trimming. Now here comes the first major headline. Marcus Rashford might already have one foot out the door. Remember when he hinted that he was open to leaving? Well, ever since then, it's like a switch was flipped. Suddenly, he's been left out of matchday squads entirely. A coincidence? Hard to believe. Sure, there are whispers that his relationship with Amorim has improved, but honestly, I'm not convinced. Something about this whole situation screams countdown to an exit, and what started as mere rumors is now picking up serious momentum. According to the Express, a strong suitor has emerged, AC Milan. And guess who's playing a key role in making it happen? None other than Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Now working as a senior advisor at Milan, Zlatan has reportedly stepped in personally, pushing to bring Rashford to Serie A. Just picture it. Zlatan persuading Rashford to join the Rossoneri. Honestly, that alone sounds like a Netflix docuseries in the making. And here's an interesting twist. When we previously discussed possible destinations for Rashford, Milan was barely on the radar. Now suddenly, they're at the front of the queue. And to be fair, it makes sense. Rashford's career has hit a rough patch, and he badly needs a fresh start. What better place to hit the reset button than at a club with Milan's history? But of course, it's not that straightforward. From what we're hearing, Milan isn't looking to spend big on a permanent transfer this January. Instead, the deal being discussed is a loan with an option, or maybe even an obligation, to buy in the summer. That raises a major question. What about United? Would they really agree to loan Rashford out while still covering part of his hefty salary? Oh, and here's another juicy detail. Apparently, Rashford's representatives have already been making trips to Milan for negotiations. And that's interesting, considering he reportedly turned down lucrative offers from Saudi Arabia and Turkey not too long ago. Clearly, Milan feels like a completely different level to him. Let's be real. Playing at the legendary San Siro is a whole different experience compared to running up and down the pitch in some random Saudi city. But here's where things get tricky. Does Milan really need Rashford? Yes, it's a massive club with incredible history, but they aren't exactly flush with cash right now. So why take on a high-earning player if United still has to cover some of his wages? And then there's the squad issue. Milan isn't exactly short on wide players. Where would Rashford even fit in? Could ZLATAN really be that persuasive, convincing Milan's management to make what looks like an expensive and somewhat questionable move? Personally, I have my doubts. And just to add to the uncertainty, word is Rashford isn't even training with United at the moment, officially due to illness or some other undisclosed reason. Whatever the case, the situation feels incredibly tense, and I have to agree with those who think there's no way back for Rashford at United. Even if he does return from a potential loan, it would likely just delay the inevitable. He needs a fresh start, and that much is clear. As for United, they seem more than happy to cash in while they can. Reports suggest they're hoping to get around £40 million for him, a pretty solid fee for a player who was once seen as untouchable. Will Milan be the ones to seal the deal, or will another club swoop in at the last minute? Time will tell. The situation surrounding ENDRICK is quickly turning from a promising fairy tale into full-blown drama. Let's not forget, Real Madrid splashed a jaw-dropping €60 million on him when he was just 16 years old. If that's not a statement of belief, I don't know what is. Fast forward to now, and ENDRICK has finally made the move to Madrid after turning 18. This should be his big moment, right? But as we all know, what looks good on paper doesn't always play out the same way in reality. The competition at Real Madrid is nothing short of brutal. Vinicius, Rodrigo, and now Kylian Mbappé. How does a young prospect break into a front line like that? According to reports in Spain, Real Madrid's management has urged ENDRICK to be patient. They're essentially telling him, hang in there, your time will come. But let's be honest, waiting on the sidelines isn't exactly what a young, hungry talent like ENDRICK wants to hear. Let's look at the numbers. 16 matches, just 250 minutes played. His last goal? All the way back in mid-September. Not exactly what you'd expect from a player who carried a €60 million price tag. And now, here's the real twist. ENDRICK is reportedly starting to have second thoughts about his future. While he's expected to stay put during the January window, the summer, that's a whole different story. And guess what? Premier League clubs are already circling. According to various reports, a number of top English clubs are more than willing to give him the minutes he's craving. And let's be honest, his talent is undeniable. This situation feels oddly familiar, doesn't it? We've seen Real Madrid take similar gambles on young Brazilian stars before, Vinicius, Rodrigo, and those risks paid off. But not every gamble is a guaranteed win. So here's the big dilemma. ENDRICK, once hailed as a future superstar, now faces the real danger of stagnating on Real Madrid's bench. Reports suggest the club is considering a loan move to keep his development on track, which brings up an important question. Is it too early? Would sending him out on loan be the best thing for his confidence? Or could it actually hurt him mentally? Because let's face it, what's the alternative? Stay on the bench and keep those €60 million warm-up seats nice and cozy? There are really two ways this could go. ENDRICK stays at Real Madrid, fights for every minute he gets, and forces his way into the team. He's loaned to a Premier League club, gets regular game time, gains experience, and returns to Madrid as a more polished, battle-ready player. If you ask us, the second option makes more sense. The Premier League is a high-intensity proving ground. Fast-paced, physical, and ultra-competitive. If ENDRICK thrives there, he'll return to Madrid stronger than ever. But let's not forget, Real Madrid is unpredictable. We've seen players go from forgotten benchwarmers to key starters in the blink of an eye. Maybe ENDRICK just needs more time. Still, something tells us that by summer, we'll see him in a different jersey, at least temporarily. And if that happens, expect a Premier League club to be his next destination. What do you think? Should Real Madrid send ENDRICK out on loan? And if so, which club would be the best fit for him? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's debate. Arne Slot, if the latest reports are to be believed, has already locked in on his dream striker. And guess who it is? Victor Osimhen. And why? Well, it seems things with Darwin Núñez aren't exactly going according to plan. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Remember when Núñez arrived at Anfield with all that hype and a hefty price tag? The expectation was that he'd light up the Premier League. But instead, it's been more like a flickering spark rather than a full-fledged explosion. And now, under Slot's management, Núñez seems to be slipping even further down the pecking order. Reports suggest that the Dutch coach prefers using Diogo Jota or even Luis Diaz in the center-forward role. Yes, Diaz, who is naturally a winger, being played centrally. What does that tell us? Clearly, Slot's tactical vision and Núñez's unpredictable energy aren't a perfect match, and that's where Osimhen enters the conversation. As speculation swirls around Núñez's possible exit, the Nigerian striker's name has started making waves. He's been tearing it up on loan at Galatasaray, and it's no secret that Manchester United is also keeping a close eye on him. Rumors suggest that Ruben Amorim sees Osimhen as the ideal forward to lead United's attack next season. A winter transfer seems off the table, though. Galatasaray has no interest in letting their star go mid-season. But in the summer, that's a different story, especially with reports claiming Napoli has reduced his release clause to a more manageable €75 million. According to Anfield Watch, Slot is already envisioning Osimhen leading Liverpool's front line, and, the best part, sporting director Richard Hughes reportedly shares the same vision. However, there's one major obstacle. This deal likely depends on Núñez leaving Anfield first. Despite his struggles, the Uruguayan still has plenty of admirers across Europe. But if reports are to be believed, Slot doesn't see him fitting into Liverpool's long-term plans. AC Milan showed interest in Núñez last summer, but Liverpool's €50 million asking price was too steep for them. Slot himself has admitted that he's had discussions with Núñez about adapting to his system, but clearly, it's not as easy as it sounds. Liverpool's pursuit of Osimhen appears to be serious. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want him? He's a clinical finisher, a striker who can turn half chances into goals. Liverpool is a team that generates endless attacking opportunities, but they don't always have someone who can consistently put them away. Osimhen, with his lethal instinct in front of goal, could be the missing piece. And considering that €75 million isn't seen as an issue for Liverpool's management, as long as they can secure a solid fee for Núñez, this transfer suddenly seems more realistic. Now here's an interesting wrinkle. Rumor has it that Osimhen recently rejected a January move to Manchester United. And honestly, it might have been the smartest decision. Staying at Galatasaray until the summer, continuing to enjoy his football, and then weighing multiple offers, it sounds like a well-thought-out plan. But, of course, not everyone is happy about it. Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis is reportedly frustrated with Osimhen's decision, which makes sense. Napoli wants to cash in as soon as possible, and this delay isn't helping their plans. So, where does this leave us? Liverpool wants Osimhen. Osimhen might be open to the move, but everything hinges on Núñez's situation. The big question is, are Liverpool truly ready to cut ties with Núñez, a player with undeniable talent, and take a big money gamble on Osimhen? Slot seems to have a clear vision for the team he wants to build, and it looks like Osimhen is a major piece of that puzzle. Now over to you. Would swapping Núñez for Osimhen be an upgrade or a downgrade? And where do you think the Nigerian star will end up? Let's talk about it in the comments. That's the fun part, making predictions and seeing how things unfold. One thing's for sure though, the summer transfer window is shaping up to be a wild ride. Remember that long-running saga with Manchester City and their so-called financial adventures? Yep, those 115 alleged breaches of financial regulations. Well, it looks like we're finally approaching the grand finale. Rumors are swirling. Yes, the same kind of rumors that often turn out to be true. That we could be getting a verdict in just a couple of months. Some even say as early as February. Now that's fast. Makes you wonder, how did they manage to speed things up so quickly? Whatever the outcome, one thing is almost certain. At least one side is going to appeal immediately. That's just the nature of these legal battles. So, while we may be nearing a decision, this whole saga is far from over. But hey, why not speculate a little in the meantime? After all, we're all eager to find out what's in store for City. Let's break it down. There are three main accusations, and the biggest one, at least in my opinion, is the claim that payments from City's owners were disguised as sponsorship deals. That's not just bending the rules, it's full-on financial gymnastics. Or, to be blunt, fraud. If City gets penalized for each individual breach, the rumored punishment could be a staggering 60 to 100-point deduction. Let that sink in for a second. That's essentially an express ticket to the championship. Absolute chaos. Of course, not all accusations will be easy to prove. Those allegedly shady payments to players, without clear evidence, City could get off the hook. After all, if there's no proof, there's no crime, at least in the legal sense. And let's be real, they wouldn't be the only club in Europe using creative accounting. Then there's the issue of listing current and former players as employees or associates of companies linked to the club's owners. Sketchy? Absolutely. But proving it? That's another story. Where City might actually be in real trouble is their refusal to cooperate with the Premier League's investigation. That level of arrogance, essentially saying, "We do what we want," could come back to haunt them. And if they're found guilty, this won't just be about points or lost titles. It could mean their entire boardroom getting a shakeup. Makes sense, right? If they provided false information, there will be consequences. But City isn't the only club under scrutiny. The drama has now reached Paris. Reports are emerging that PSG could be in hot water with UEFA. The reason? Allegedly failing to pay Kylian Mbappe's wages. Apparently, they have the money, but either forgot to pay him or, for some reason, just didn't. Either way, that's a major violation of UEFA's financial regulations. UEFA has strict rules when it comes to unpaid wages. Clubs need to clear all debts by July 15th, October 15th, and January 15th. If they don't, UEFA is supposed to take action. The most likely punishment? Exclusion from European competitions. Here's where it gets interesting. PSG doesn't seem too worried. With their current league position, they're not even in contention for the playoff rounds this season. But what about next year? A potential ban from European competitions could be a massive blow to the pride of the club's Qatari owners. That said, something tells me they'll sort it out quickly. Paying Mbappe what he's owed makes too much sense financially, especially if they have any hopes of competing in the Champions League knockout stages. And let's be honest, they do, don't they? Or do they? As the saying goes, the fish rots from the head. And in football, it seems like it rots from the money. Manchester City and PSG are two of the biggest clubs in the world, yet even they aren't immune to controversy. The real question is, how will they get themselves out of this mess? And more importantly, how will it all end? Something tells me we're in for even more drama before this is all said and done. What do you think? Will City or PSG manage to come out of this unscathed? Let's hear your thoughts. Alright, hold on to your seats because things are getting wild in the transfer rumor mill. Remember the young Argentine dynamo Garnacho? Well, apparently he's no longer seen as untouchable at Manchester United. And I'm talking about some serious rumors here. No exaggeration. A storm of them. The Daily Mail. Those guys are always on fire with their stories, have dropped one that'll leave you stunned. Football's a business, sure. But Garnacho? Really? According to the latest gossip from the British media, a whole lineup of massive clubs is keeping tabs on him. Bayern Munich, PSG, AC Milan, and of course, the big Spanish clubs, Real Madrid and Barcelona. These clubs sure know how to pick their targets, don't they? And here's the kicker. It's not just talk of a loan. We're talking full-on transfer talk. And United reportedly wants £70 million for him. That's right, £70 million. Now let's not take this as gospel just yet. But it's certainly something to think about. Manchester United seems to think they can get more for Garnacho than they could even for Marcus Rashford. But hold on, it gets even more interesting. Word is, Garnacho himself might not be opposed to leaving Old Trafford. And guess where he'd want to go? Back to Atletico Madrid. It seems like he's not exactly loving life at United, or at least not thrilled with his current role in the team. He's reportedly uncertain about how he fits into Ruben Amorim's tactics, particularly with those 3-4-3 formations. Not every player thrives in that setup, and this is where Atletico Madrid steps in. Diego Simeone hasn't forgotten about the young talent. Atletico's been looking for some new faces on the wings, and guess who could be a perfect fit? Yep, Alejandro Garnacho. Here's a fun tidbit. Garnacho was part of Atletico Madrid's academy for almost 5 years before making the jump to United for a bargain £420,000. And now? Well, now we're talking £70 million. What a rise, right? If this transfer happens, it could also help Manchester United with their financial fair play situation since Garnacho's considered a homegrown player. That would mean the entire transfer fee counts as pure profit for United. But is United really ready to let him go? Well, reports suggest that it could happen either this month or in the summer window. Here's where things get a little murky, though. Rumors have been circulating that Garnacho doesn't have the best relationship with manager Ruben Amorim. After that game against City, if you remember, he's found himself stuck on the bench, a 20-year-old full of energy sitting on the sidelines. No wonder he's not happy. I don't think these rumors just came out of nowhere. There could be something more going on behind the scenes that the club's keeping quiet. So, is Manchester United really willing to part ways with such a promising talent? And if they do, can they find a worthy replacement? The big question, what does Garnacho actually want? To be honest, it would be a real shame if he leaves. He's a bright, technical player who adds that spark to the game. Sure, he's not always consistent, but his potential is sky high. Letting him go now? I don't know. It feels like a mistake to me. So, what's the verdict here? Garnacho could be on his way out of Manchester United. The big clubs are circling, and Garnacho himself might actually be open to a move. Atletico Madrid, meanwhile, is ready to bring their former star back home with open arms. What do you all think about this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to give it a like. That's it for today. Make sure to stay tuned for more updates because there's a lot more coming. See you soon, take care, and bye for now.